Welcome to School Skills Training, how to transform kids into students. This is an ultra mini professional development sampler from Youth Change Workshops, www.youthchange.com. I'm Ruth Herman Wells, Director of Youth Change Workshops. Here's my contact information, including toll-free line, website, and email. You're in good hands. Youth Change wrote the book on problem kids, and as you can tell, we teach the class. And on the slide, you can see some more information about what we do. But let's go ahead and dive into the content. So you may be wondering, what exactly is school skills training? Well, you may never have noticed this, but very few schools have a formal, written down plan to teach kids to be students. I call those skills that we expect of kids but don't teach them in a formal or systematic kind of a way. That's what I call school skills training. It leaves kids and teens really unprepared for the job of student when we expect skills without teaching them. We would never expect students to learn academics on their own, but we do expect even at-risk children and kids with challenges to self-train to be students. So there's a very common sense, didn't take a rocket scientist kind of explanation for why so many youngsters, contemporary youngsters, are struggling in school. Now, years ago, parents routinely provided school skill training. They taught their youngsters good manners. They taught them how to control their anger and their temper. They taught them to be respectful of the teacher, how to sit on the bus, how to walk down the corridor, how to behave in the girls' room or the boys' room. Well, those days are gone, aren't they? Not all families are able or willing to provide that kind of preparation. And in fact, you may work with children whose families convey one way or the other, either directly or indirectly, that school's kind of a waste of time, or that it's not necessary to be properly behaved or respectful of the teacher. Some families may even say to their children that if the child is threatened or intimidated by a peer, it's okay to go ahead and hit or to do whatever violence it takes. And so today's students come in not only equipped with the skills they need, they're not equipped with those skills, but they may come in pretty well equipped with behaviors that are the exact opposite of what you would like to see in your students. So exactly what kind of skills are we talking about when we say school skills? It is a lot of stuff, too much to fit on this one slide. But here's a few of the things that I'm referring to when I say school skills. Things like attendance, how to interact with that teacher, study skills, homework skills, attitude, motivation, punctuality, how to ride on the bus, how to sit in a chair, how to sit at a desk, how to manage school property, how to walk down the corridor, what to wear, what to bring, how often to be on your cell phone, all that kind of nitty-gritty, nuts and bolts skills that we expect of kids, but we don't teach. Now, I do need to acknowledge that lots of elementary teachers on their own take it upon themselves, even though it's not written down or mandated or even necessarily suggested. They, on their own, work on these kind of skills with younger students. But since there's no systematic game plan, you're going to see that kids, whether they're littler kids or older kids, can have gaps, omissions, and delays in their training to be a student. And that's why you can see younger kids or older kids that don't look, act, or sound like students. Did you know that the typical teacher loses a whopping 22 minutes per 50 minutes of instruction time? Part of that's because the teacher's constantly stopping to say, please don't kick, please don't hit, please don't wander out of the room. No, you can't spend all of class in the bathroom. I call those kinds of disruptions on-demand behavior management, and they can make instruction seem nearly impossible. But with school skills training, you end up working with trained, motivated students instead of untrained, unmotivated students who think your class is a joke and that school is a waste of time. But it just doesn't have to be that way. Probably the biggest benefit of school skills training is that it really excels at tackling the most resistant problems and the most serious problems that today's students present. It's designed to work when conventional approaches fail. It has methods for even problems that are considered pretty much unfixable, like poor motivation and bad attitude. School skills training makes so much sense, yet sadly, it's not well known around North America. But it could be the answer you need right now for your classroom. So you might be sitting there saying to yourself, well, I never heard of school skills training. Well, just because you haven't heard of it doesn't mean that it's the wrong answer or that it doesn't work. What it means is that perhaps teacher training is a little bit more focused on other kinds of topics. Topics like high-stakes testing and measurement. In fact, studies show that teacher training tends to be at least 80% focused on content. Yet, most days in your classroom, teachers, you're not worried about content. You're worried about human factors. And so the fact that 80% of teacher training is on content and perhaps just 20% on human factors is part of the problem. If teacher training programs at universities and colleges were including practical, real-world, more effective methods for today's students, perhaps our schools would function a whole lot better. So just because we haven't gotten the word out about school skills training, that doesn't diminish its value. In fact, perhaps this practice should be universal. Perhaps we should stop using methods crafted for Beaver Cleaver in the 1950s and begin to move towards methods geared for contemporary students who may, if you'll forgive the lightness here, that may look less like Beaver Cleaver and more like Beavis and Butthead. School skill strategies can cover any behaviors, attitude, or motivation that you want a youngster to do in your class or school. And most can be adapted to any age group or skill level. And these interventions can be used verbally. They can be worksheets. They can be activities. They can be posters. They can be catchphrases. They're so fluid. At Left is one of our most popular ones. You may have seen this one and some of the ones like it in the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies or on many broadcast and cable TV programs. And, of course, they're in classrooms around North America. But the first one I want to look at is the item at Left. It's poster 38. It's called Get Paid Great to Arrive Late. If you've made a career out of being late, we urgently need your special skills. Prior experience, missing deadlines required, on-time applications not accepted. See how we're showing that coming in on time and doing tasks and assignments on time isn't some random teacher thing. It's an important, gee, I'm going to need a job thing. The next item I'd like you to look at is in the center. It's our poster 59, what not to bring to class. And we're starting to actually teach the skills before we expect it. And there we see an iPhone or some other kind of mobile phone. And that works better than just posting consequences and reminders, but to actually teach the skills before you expect the skills. That's what school skills training is all about. Teaching skills before you expect them and remembering to include interventions that impart motivation and a better attitude. This worksheet helps your students learn to be accountable for their problem behavior rather than always shifting the blame to others, whether it's their peers or they blame it on the teacher or they blame it on the principal. You're going to find it's tough to change the behavior of students who believe that their misconduct is all due to somebody else. And so interventions like this may be essential if you want to reach some of your most difficult students. That's part of why school skills training is so effective. It has interventions for all types of kids rather than one kind of simple formula that makes one-size interventions fit all kids. In school skills training, you get such an array of interventions that you have interventions for all different kinds of kids and all different kinds of problems. Here's just 3 more of the thousands upon thousands of school skill interventions that exist for all the areas that students need to be proficient in order to make it in school. The one at left is a great activity or poster. It works with any age group, at its best though with young people. In the lower grades, give me 5, 2 eyes watching, 2 ears listening, 1 mouth shut. And this can be done with a high 5 slap, and the students point to their eyes, then their ears, then their mouth. The second device, I don't need a grandma checker to proof my work. Check your grammar, because you never know what you're missing. The second part, that phrase can become a catchphrase that you and your students use all around your classroom. But see how we're marketing using a grammar checker? And that is really going to enhance their motivation to use that device to ensure correct grammar. True secrets bosses never tell is shown at right, and it includes things like handwriting does count. See how these proactive interventions can stop problems that have already begun and prevent other problems from ever occurring. It's your choice. You can continue to hassle with untrained, unmotivated students, or proactively give them the skills they need to succeed in schools. And that's what you get from school skills training. Here you can see 3 more interventions. And again, these are just a few of the thousands of targeted, more effective classroom management methods that exist. We call them school skills training methods. You'll call them the best thing that ever happened for your classroom management. I hope you've enjoyed this very quick peek into school skills training, an idea that maybe should be everywhere at all schools in all grades, but hopefully after our few minutes together, school skills training will become part of your classroom. If you need additional help, we have live workshops, we have books, ebooks, posters, college credit, clock hours, distance learning, and even workshops that go right to your school, agency, or conference. Our contact information is shown at the top right, including our toll-free line. We can help.